If you want to change your life, first you need to change the way you see yourself. Sometimes we carry old labels for many years. We think we are not good at communication. We think we have no discipline. We think we are not creative. We think we cannot learn a foreign language well. At first, these labels may come from someone's comment, one failure, or one bad experience in the past. But when we repeat them for a long time, they slowly become part of our identity. We begin to believe that this is who we really are. So in this episode, I want to share what I have learned about how to truly change the way you see yourself. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Mia, and you're listening to the Heal and Grow podcast. This podcast is created to help you practice English in a meaningful way. But more than that, it is here to remind you to stop living on autopilot. Understand yourself deeply and grow into a stronger version of who you are. If you have been stuck in old beliefs for so long, and you do not know where to begin, please listen carefully to this. Every change in your life has to begin with you. It begins with the way you see yourself. It begins with the way you talk to yourself. It begins with the small choices you make when no one is watching. At some point, you have to look at your life honestly and decide, I do not want to stay the same anymore. And that is the moment when real change begins. Many people want to change, but they do not want to question the old beliefs that keep them stuck. And I hope you will not be one of them. I hope you will be brave enough to look at the stories you have been telling yourself for years and ask, is this really true? Because the truth is, you are not trapped forever in your current version of yourself. That is why sometimes, when you meet someone again after a few years, they can feel like a completely different person. Some people become 10 times better than before, but there are also people who become much worse over time. This depends a lot on what they repeat every day. That is why the way you see yourself matters so much. If you keep seeing yourself as someone who cannot change, you will stop trying before you even begin. If you keep seeing yourself through an old label, you will keep living like the old version of you. So the most important thing to change the way you see yourself is to start questioning the old story you have been repeating for years. Do not accept every thought as the truth. Do not believe every label just because it has followed you for a long time. Ask yourself, is this really who I am? Or is this only a story I learned to believe? Because the moment you begin to question an old belief, you create space for a new one. You give yourself a chance to grow, to try again, and to become someone different from who you used to be. Once you recognize your old beliefs, you also need to accept this truth. You are not fixed. You are not meant to stay the same forever. You are a human being, and a human being must learn, adapt, and grow. The world changes every day. So if you keep holding on to the same old identity, you may not be protecting yourself. You may be trapping yourself. Something you once hated may become something you love in the future. Something you once believed was right for you may later become the biggest thing holding you back. A belief that once helped you survive may later stop you from growing. That is why you need to keep learning. That is why you need to question yourself. That is why you need to stay open to change. Real strength is not saying, this is just who I am. Real strength is saying, I am willing to learn. I am willing to adapt. I am willing to let go of what no longer helps me grow. Because the people who grow the most are not always the most talented. They are the ones who are brave enough to keep learning and flexible enough to change. One of the strongest ways to change your belief about yourself is to gently face something that once scared you. Not because you need to force yourself into fear, but because many of your fears are connected to old stories about who you think you are. Choose one small skill that goes against your old image of yourself. If you think you are not creative, try writing or drawing. If you think you are not good at foreign languages, try learning a new language every day for a few months. If you think you have no discipline, start with one small promise and keep it consistently. When you slowly make progress in something you once thought you could not do, your old belief begins to lose its power. You start to realize that many of your limits are not your true nature. They are only old stories you have believed for too long. If you pay attention to daily life, you will see that the way you see yourself does not change only because you think differently. It changes when you start giving yourself new evidence every day. The difference between people's lives often does not come from one very big decision. It comes from small choices repeated again and again. With the same free time after work, some people use it to recover and grow, while others unconsciously let it pass by in habits that make them even more tired. Imagine two people coming home after a long and exhausting day at work. The first person opens their phone to escape their tiredness. They scroll through social media, watch a few short videos, read news that makes them anxious, and go to sleep with a mind that feels even more messy. The second person is tired too. They are not perfect either, but they spend 15 minutes reading a few pages of a book, listening to something useful, or writing down one thing they learned that day. Only 15 minutes. Nothing fancy. No one sees it. No one claps for them. But every time they keep that small promise, they send a new message to themselves. I am someone who can grow. 1 year later, those 15 minutes become many hours of learning. 5 years later, those small actions become the way they think, the way they speak, the way they make decisions, and the way they see themselves. You do not need to change your whole life in one day. Sometimes, you only need to protect the best 15 minutes of your day and use it to prove to yourself that you are not the old version of you anymore. You know, the world does not stand still and wait for us to be ready. Every day, technology changes. Work changes. The way people communicate, make money, learn, and live also changes. This is the natural filter of life. I am not saying this to make you feel negative. I am saying this to help you wake up. Because if you do not actively learn, adapt, and grow, life will not stop to explain why you are being left behind. If you stop learning, you may not see the result today. Everything may still look normal. You still go to work. You still finish your tasks. You still live like every other day. But little by little, a gap will begin to appear. Not because you are not good enough, but because you are using old knowledge, old thinking, and old ways of working to step into a world that has changed too fast. Many people stop learning right after they leave school. They think education ends on the day they receive their degree. But the truth is, a degree is only the starting point. Real education begins the moment you no longer learn for grades, no longer learn for exams, no longer learn because someone forces you to, but learn because you understand that your future needs a better version of yourself. No one can force you to grow. No one can place success directly into your hands. And no one can live your life for you. You have to decide every day that you will not stand still. You will read one more page of a book, learn one more skill, listen to one meaningful conversation, observe someone who is better than you, fix one old mistake, try one new way of doing things. So learning is not only about becoming better. Learning is about giving yourself more choices in life. Learning is about not staying trapped in an old version of yourself. And these small things, when repeated long enough, will quietly change who you are. One day, you will look back and realize that you did not change because of one big moment. You changed because every day you chose not to abandon your own growth. But there is one very important thing you need to remember. Learning is not collecting knowledge. Learning is not saving one more article, buying one more course, or writing down a few beautiful sentences, then never using them again. If knowledge does not change the way you think, act, or solve real problems, it is still only information. It has not become part of who you are yet. Many people feel like they are learning, but they are not really changing. They watch many videos, save many posts, and listen to many pieces of advice. But when life gives them a real problem, they still react like the old version of themselves. They still delay. They still avoid. They still fear mistakes. They still do not know where to begin. So after every new thing you learn, ask yourself, how can I use this in my real life? Because every time you use what you learn, you give yourself new evidence. You stop seeing yourself as someone who only knows things. You begin to see yourself as someone who can apply, improve, and grow. You learn communication so you can speak more clearly and listen better. You learn time management so you can finish what truly matters. You learn critical thinking so you can make better decisions instead of being controlled by temporary emotions. Real learning changes how you live. And when the way you live changes, the way you see yourself begins to change too. Another powerful way to change the way you see yourself is to change the way you speak to yourself. Many people stay stuck because their inner voice keeps breaking them down. They make one mistake and they call themselves a failure. They fall behind and they say they are not good enough. They struggle with one thing and they turn it into their whole identity. They think being harsh with themselves will make them stronger. But most of the time, it only makes them tired, afraid, and less willing to try again. You cannot grow well in a mind that keeps attacking you. So speaking kindly to yourself is not weakness. It is discipline. It is self-leadership. It means you can face the truth without destroying your own confidence. It means you can say, I made a mistake, so I will learn from it. I am not good at this yet, so I will practice. I failed this time, but I am not a failure. Because the way you speak to yourself becomes the way you see yourself. And the way you see yourself becomes the way you live. So do not use your own voice to keep yourself small. Use it to correct yourself, guide yourself, and help yourself become stronger. And finally, if you truly want to change the way you see yourself, you need to pay attention to the environment around you. Sometimes it is hard to see yourself in a new way because you are still living in a place that keeps reminding you of the old version of you. The people you spend time with, the content you watch, the conversations you listen to, and the ideas you repeat every day are all quietly shaping your identity. If you stay close to people who always make you feel small, it becomes harder to believe that you can grow. If you keep watching content that makes you feel behind, jealous, or not good enough, it becomes harder to feel clear and strong inside. If your daily environment keeps feeding the old story, then even when you want to change, a part of you will keep going back to who you used to be. So choose your environment carefully. Stay close to people, books, ideas, and conversations that remind you of your potential. Choose what helps you think better, act better, and believe better about yourself. Because changing your life is not only about changing your goals. It is also about changing what you allow into your mind every day. My friend, please know that you are not trapped forever in an old version of yourself. You can learn again. You can grow again. You can choose again. Because every change in your life starts from within you. I truly wish that day by day, you can see yourself with more kindness, trust your own growth a little more, and slowly become the person you are proud to be. And if this episode speaks to your heart, you can listen to more episodes like this on the channel, because sometimes one honest conversation at the right time can help us come back to ourselves again.